Welcome to the Bookers Alliance podcast, where we hold the pencil and the pencil is power. Coming at you right now is your host, Marky Mark, along with the man, the myth, the legend, Frank Donaldson. Join us as we discuss the ever-changing landscape of professional wrestling. So hang on tight, you jabronis, and enjoy the ride. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. Thank you for joining us today on our podcast. Today, our topic, we wanted to talk about who was the greatest WWE wrestler to never win the great event, the Royal Rumble. Frank, we wanted to sit down and talk about this today. Us being lifelong wrestling fans, we've watched this since we were kids. How many Royal Rumbles have you seen in your lifetime?
So I've actually seen 36, even though they think that this is the 35th Rumble. I remember seeing the televised pay-per-view or the non-pay-per-view Royal Rumble that Hacksaw Jim Duggan first won.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
So that one was on the USA Network when it was just, I think it was programmed against a WCW pay-per-view. They programmed it specifically against that and ran it on free TV. And Hacksaw Jim Duggan actually won that.
Nice. The man has a count of how many he's seen, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know how many that I've seen. I know I've seen my fair share of them throughout the day. But the Rumble was always a bright spot. It's one of the big four. And as we are building this road to WrestleMania, the road to the Rumble that we're on right now, we wanted to sit down and talk a little bit about what our thoughts were about who is the greatest WWE wrestler to never win the Royal Rumble. We wanted to start off today, though, talking about a little bit of news today. As we learned last night on Monday Night Raw, Cody Rhodes has declared for the Rumble. Frank, your thoughts?
Well, the roads to the Rumble. That was the tagline that they put on there with the vignettes they've been doing, Cody's rehab and his road back to the WWE, and now the roads to the Rumble. I feel like they're setting him up for a big-time show on that Saturday night.
Definitely. I could see him being a potential winner. The hot topic has him, going to WrestleMania to potentially challenge Roman for the belt or somebody else for the belt. We don't know at this time. But, God, it would be awesome and amazing to see him come back, hear the pop maybe bigger than what we heard him come back in as WrestleMania. The sound, deafening sound in the arena there. But definitely I'm excited to have him back. He's been missed, especially the way he went out, man, falling on his sword like that, going out in that Hell in a Cell match with Seth Rollins there.
Yeah, he definitely put on a show for the Hell in the Cell to go out with. I mean, he etched his name. He put his name right in the hat to be a number one contender when he comes back. He definitely set himself up to be a top player. I got a different outlook on his participation in the Rumble and his potential winning the title from Roman, but we'll deal with that in a different podcast.
Sounds good. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to get into our topic today, the greatest WWE wrestler to never win the Royal Rumble. So for those out there who may be listening and do not know what the Royal Rumble is, Frank, break it down for us.
Well, the Royal Rumble is the big battle royal that WWE started back in 1988. Royal Rumble starts with 2 men, and then every 2 minutes or 1 minute or 30 seconds or a minute 30 or all the other variations we've seen over the year. But periodically, another superstar will come out until 30 superstars have entered the ring. And after number 30 has gone out, then it's a free-for-all. Whoever's the last man standing wins the Rumble and goes on to WrestleMania to challenge the heavyweight champion of their choosing.
So that match has built intrigue throughout the years. We've seen it to where the winner goes on to be able to choose the championship match at WrestleMania. We've seen the belt defended in the Royal Rumble itself at times. So that match has always been phenomenal, along with what most of us look forward to, the surprises. Each one of us salivate as that timer ticks down and you hear that buzzer and who's coming out of the curtain. Is it a current star? Is it a former star? Is it somebody from another company? You never know these days. A la the Forbidden Door, nobody knows what's going to happen. But that's just a little backstory on the Royal Rumble itself. Again, the Royal Rumble is one of the big four pay-per-views, along with
Premium live events.
oh, the premium live events. Yes, sir. There we go. But along with, the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, those are the big four. And it's always good to get the year started off with the Royal Rumble. So today our topic, the greatest WWE wrestler to never win the Royal Rumble. So Frank, in my studies here of trying to choose my candidate for our topic today, there definitely were some sad cases that I just shook my head at. And I went, man, I cannot believe they never won this event. But then again, like you stated, 35, 36 of these have ever happened. There's only so many people that can win. So there's got to be some people that never have won this thing. So I guess I'll kick it off, and we'll talk about my chosen person. I wanted to introduce him as the Lionheart, the Ayatollah of rock and roller, Mr. Y2J, the Painmaker, the Demo God, the Ocho, Le Champion, Mr. Chris Jericho is my pick. When I did my research, I could not believe that this was something that old Jericho has just never added to his illustrious career.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you think about it again, like you said, only so many people can win it. And Jericho kind of had the same issue that guys like Charles Barkley and Karl Malone had in the world of the NBA. They played against a better player who was just taking the spotlight at the time. Chris Jericho's original run in the WWE was during the time of Rock and Austin. His secondary run was kind of during the John Cena era. His most recent run was kind of during the start of the Roman Reigns era. So, I mean, while Jericho was a top guy during those periods, he just never was the guy. So, that elusive Royal Rumble win is just something that I think is always going to be out of his reach.
Very true. So let's talk a little bit about the stats here of Y2J. In his career, he's had over 2,500 matches. He has wrestled for multiple promotions, WWE, New Japan, WCW, AEW, most currently Ring of Honor, as weird as that sounds. He's also been a multi-time world champion, heavyweight champion, intercontinental champion, tag team champion. This man has accomplished it all, for God's sake, except for this one accolade, the Rumble. He's not been able to chase this dragon down. I mean, for God's sake, he has a freaking rock band. I mean, what else does this guy need to accomplish in life? And obviously, the Rumble, it's eluded him.
Yep. Well, and like I said, unfortunately, I remember Chris's run as multi-heavyweight champion when he had the big gold belt and the winged eagle belt. And he just happened to run into Triple H's return at the Royal Rumble. And Triple H, of course, was coming off of a quad injury, had been out almost a year. Triple H came back and won that year's Royal Rumble, went on to dethrone Jericho at WrestleMania in a match that most people didn't even know was happening because they were so gassed up from the Hulk Hogan and The Rock match. But, things like that happen, and couldn't ask for it from a better guy. Like I said, Jericho gave you everything else you wanted, but that was one thing that he just couldn't give you, was that Royal Rumble win.
So you mentioned some of the programs that he's been in, and Triple H definitely made the list. Get it? So Triple H made the list there. So he's had legendary feuds with CM Punk, John Cena, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. I mean, my God, who has this man not been in a ring with? To say the least, all of his feuds are always interesting. He can definitely carry himself with the best of the best as far as promo work. His in-ring work has always been impeccable. So definitely some of the feuds that he's been, in throughout the years, it's been amazing to watch him wrestle. Also, when you look at who he is, I started this off with, names such as the Lionheart, Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla, the Demo God, the Ocho, Le Champion. He is the king of reinvention. Outside of The Undertaker, and Mick Foley, I don't know of anybody else who has been able to reinvent themselves as much as Chris Jericho.
No, that's definitely a very hard feat to accomplish, is keeping yourself relevant for as long as you have with different versions of yourself. Guys like Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan's been relevant for my entire life, plus some. But I mean, he did it as two gimmicks. He did it as Hulk Hogan. He did it as Hollywood Hogan. There were no other gimmicks. John Cena, he's been relevant for the last 20 years. He's probably been the biggest name in wrestling for the last 20 years, but he's always been John Cena. You know, he did the rap gimmick, he did the John Cena gimmick, but the presentation's always been the same. Jericho can create a completely different presentation. He has, I mean, obviously he's, like you said, he's a rock and roll star, so he can make his own entrance music. But I mean, he has different entrance music, different gimmicks. The Painmaker gimmick, I mean, you know, he ran that only over in New Japan for a long time. That wasn't even a gimmick he brought to the States until recently in AEW. So, I mean, yeah, there's not another wrestler that I could think of that's recreated himself and stayed relevant for this long of a period of time. I don't think anybody could challenge that.
And the other thing is about Chris Jericho. I mean, obviously, you know, you're the winner of the Rumble. You get the challenge for the belt. And then, hey, you got the belt. That means the company has invested, you know, all in on you at that point, that you are the face of the company. He's proven time and time again that he could carry a company if need be. I mean, look at AEW. He started as champion in that company. Basically, AEW said, here you go, Chris, carry us on, see what can happen. So definitely this man should have had the opportunity to have that Rumble victory.
Now, wait a minute. Wait. Now, yeah, so he carried AEW. He carried a fledgling startup company. But do we really think Chris Jericho can carry the WWE? Can he be the face of the company?
I mean, you had a 2-month-long build-up vignettes for Y2J. So you're going to put that much time and effort into somebody if you don't believe that they can carry the company? I mean, not to mention, he got to call the boss's daughter a trash bag wearing hoe. So come on now.
So he definitely did. But let me remind you, when those vignettes were coming out, who did he debut against when he came into WWE? He debuted against The Rock, who also had vignettes, who could also call Stephanie whatever he wanted.
True.
And who was just a bigger name than Jericho was back in good old 99.
True.
When Jericho came back, he was against Cena, who, if I remember right, was spanking Stephanie and kissing Stephanie on SmackDown every now and again. So I don't know. Like I said, carrying. I mean, so AEW real quick. Dean Ambrose is carrying AEW right now.
Absolutely.
Could Dean Ambrose carry WWE?
No.
So my take on that for Jericho is the same way. Jericho, he would always be an upper echelon main eventer, absolutely, but Jericho is always going to be that foil to the guy that's carrying the company more than he would be the guy that carries the company, in my view.
Good points. All right, so we've yacked enough about how Chris Jericho here. So let's move on to Frank. Let's hear your pick. Who was the greatest to never win the Royal Rumble?
Well, so my pick is, and this is going to be a guy that I do think could be the face of the company because he has been the face of WWE. My pick is Kurt Angle, the Olympic gold medalist, your world champion, your milk drinking, Olympic wearing wrestling champion of the world. That's Kurt Angle. I don't see any way. I couldn't even believe Kurt Angle didn't win the Royal Rumble. I heard it on his podcast that he said that was the one thing that eluded him, and I had to actually look it up. I thought maybe Kurt was just going crazy. I said, no way he didn't win the Rumble. But what I came to realize is the years he was in WWE, every year that he would have been in the Rumble to go on to wrestle the champion at WrestleMania, he was the champion going into WrestleMania short of 1 year. The year he wrestled Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 21. Every other year, he was already either in contention for the belt or the champion. So there wasn't really an opportunity for him to win the Rumble because he was the guy that the Rumble winner was going on to face. So it turned out it was really interesting, but same like you said, accolades for Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle held every belt in the WWE within his first year of being in the WWE. The European belt, the Intercontinental belt, the tag belts, the big gold belt, the big wing eagle belt. He held them all. He went to ECW on his way out, for Christ's sake, and saved that from being a total debacle. I mean, as much as it could be saved, he did as best as he could for that. But I mean, Kurt put everybody over that needed to be put over during his time in WWE. He made so many other champions. Then, as we know, after he left WWE, he went on to TNA to hold every single belt that they had and win every single accolade they had. And he's in both of those Hall of Fame. So, I mean, as far as who would be the best wrestler that never won the Rumble, Kurt Angle's got to be that pick. He's got to be that guy. What do you think?
Definitely. I mean, I think he's definitely either the pick or in contention. I mean, the fact that he started off his career basically amateur wrestler, worked his way up through NCAA division, Olympic gold medalist. The fact that he came in and learned the business so quickly like he did, and that's just not from a fan's perspective. That's just from us hearing it from others inside the business of how well he caught on to everything and how great of a showman he really was. When you think about, wrestlers, pro wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it, when you think about it, at the end of the day, he's an entertainer. I every time you saw Kurt Angle come across TV, it was always like, oh God, what's he doing? What's he going to say? Who's he calling out? Who's he going to, pull some prank on? When are we going to get to the, oh, it's true. It's damn true. I mean, that was Kurt Angle, definitely to find out that he's never won the Rumble. That's amazing. I mean, again, that's, it would just seem like he would have been able to obtain that one, last notch in his belt, so to speak.
Yeah. Again, wrestling is a two-way dance, and I feel like you have to have someone that Rumble winner could dance with, and just that always seemed to be Kurt Angle. I mean, every WrestleMania that I can remember him being in, even WrestleMania 22, which I was in, he was defending a championship, short of 21 when he wrestled Shawn Michaels, and probably what may be rated as one of the best WrestleMania matches of all time. So there may not have been a belt involved in that, but I mean, the way that match came across, it didn't need a belt. Matter of fact, a belt might have hurt that match. If there was anything else in contention short of just two of the best performers squaring up one-on-one, it may have actually cheapened that. But again, like I said, not winning the Rumble, for the fact that he looked at it as a loss, made me hurt a little bit more for him for that, because so many guys have won the Rumble. I mean, Big John Studd won the Royal Rumble. Hacksaw Jim Duggan won the Rumble. There's a lot of names out there that won the Rumble that you're like, what? Why? I don't know. But, a guy like Kurt Angle, for who he was and what he was, not being able to say he's got one of those in his belt, I don't know. It just seems like a miss for me.
So, I mean, you brought up a great point about him being always on the event card as, somebody defending a belt. So really, most guys...
championship.
Oh, championships, yes.
Vince is back.
Vince,
we have to go back to championships.
Sorry, Vince. I'm sorry. Don't fire me, Vince. I'm sorry.
Just in case there's an endorsement opportunity or anything out there, we are looking to be picked up by
Vince,
the
we love
WWE,
you.
So we know it's a championship. A belt's what holds up your waist, pal.
That's right. It's a championship. My bad. I apologize. Or as another person that I once knew said, I apologize.
There you go.
But with him always defending the championship and Chris always being the fool that you pointed out. It just, you always want to see somebody, be able to attain, even if it's just coming back for that one last shot at trying to win it. And for Chris is so deep into the world of AEW right now. There's no chance of him coming, especially Vince is back. There's no chance right now of him popping through that entryway there, unless Papa H, unless Triple H can work that magic. We did see him show up on the Stone Cold podcast.
True, but that was under the Vince regime.
That is true. So we'll see what could happen. And then with Kurt, unfortunately, Kurt is hung up the boots, as they say these days. Not typically medically cleared to do any more events.
No, Kurt's fresh off a double knee replacement. I don't think any of you who saw him at his birthday celebration a few weeks ago on SmackDown. Would have saw him perform with the Milk Truck and Gable Steveson. I think Gable Steveson is the next Kurt Angle. He's kind of the heir apparent. So we might as well start gearing up for that guy because I think Kurt Angle's on the back end of his in-ring career. Obviously, he can still show up outside the ring and be just as entertaining, just as amazing as he was on the birthday celebration. But yeah, the in-ring career, I don't think we're going to be seeing that. And unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be seeing Jericho doing it either. So it looks like we're at a loss on both of those.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate as much as we like those guys. It's unfortunate. But we do have some honorable mentions that we wanted to talk about. Some other guys that you may not know have never won the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I was looking through as I was trying to find my guy. I said, who is the best guy? Because that was the topic today, the best guy who never won the Rumble. And I was coming across some guys, former champions that never won the Rumble. And I'm just like, man. So let's see here. So I had Kane. We got to talk about Kane.
Dude, Kane?
For the longest time, Kane had the most eliminations in the Rumble year by year. So
right, it just recently got beat, right? Who took that record?
Recently, guy. I think Brock.
Or was it Brock or Braun Strowman? Maybe took it.
The year Brock was in it when he defended the belt in it.
And then Drew put him out.
Yeah. I think that year, going into the pandemic, that year was the year that record was beat. But up until then, so I mean, that was what, 10, 15 years that Kane had that record. But wow. Kane never won the Royal Rumble. Kane's former heavyweight champion, former World WWE champion. He's held both belts, but yet he never won the Rumble. He got there in a different way. His WWE championship reign was one day. His world championship reign went a little bit longer, but so he got there in unceremonious ways, he didn't get the big pomp and circumstance out of WrestleMania or anything like that. But I mean, he was a guy that in the Rumble, his name was synonymous with the Rumble for so long because you could see so many of his eliminations. But Kane never won the Royal Rumble. That was a loss to me.
That's hard to believe.
Definitely hard to believe. Another one on that list that I came across was another guy that got made in the Royal Rumble by eliminating a lot of guys, just never won it. And that's Diesel, Kevin Nash. Never won the Royal Rumble.
Wow.
Again, you got to think about the years that Kevin Nash was there. He was defending the world title going into WrestleMania 11. He wrestled The Undertaker in WrestleMania 12, and then he was out of there. So, and in Royal Rumble of 94, the year before, that was the year he made his big splash in the Royal Rumble, eliminating so many guys and all that. But you just look at Diesel, how they pushed him for that time that he was in WWE as Diesel, as big as he was, as dominant as he was in the Royal Rumble, being a guy that never won the Royal Rumble. I don't know. It's just kind of rough to think about just how they missed the boat on that one. But a guy that never won the Royal Rumble. Another guy we got here, Macho Man Randy Savage.
Ooh, yeah.
Macho Man never won the Royal Rumble. God. Closest Macho Man ever got was the 93 Royal Rumble when he wrestled where he wrestled against Yokozuna at the end. I don't know if anybody else remembers off the top of my head, but Macho Man dropped an elbow on Yoko the wrong way, and then Yoko went to kick out of the elbow because Macho decided to pin him and kicked out and pushed Macho right over the top rope. He pushed him up. Macho went to his feet, jumped right over the top rope, and fell onto the floor, and Yokozuna was on his way to WrestleMania 9. Macho Man never won the Royal Rumble.
Wow.
Big John Studd won the Royal Rumble, but Macho Man never won the Royal Rumble.
Wow.
Last one that I had that just kind of struck into my mind now because he won every other battle royal known to man, but Andre the Giant. How did he never win the Royal Rumble?
Yeah, I know. I mean, you think the man is larger than three men put together, and nobody ever, They always found a way to push him over, whether it was by ganging up on him or...
It'd be 10 guys, 12 guys, every guy out there, Yeah. So I think one year, matter of fact, I'm pretty sure one year, Jake the Snake even ran in and threw Damien in.
Damien on it.
Eliminated himself. So, I mean, sometimes it doesn't take no guys. Sometimes it takes a 20-foot python to come in there and do it. But whatever the case may be, Andre the Giant is known as the superstar that won every battle royal across the globe. That any company that had a Royal Rumble Andre was in, Andre won. Andre won the Battle Royal in WrestleMania 2 in Chicago with the football players. There were a lot of Bears in there, a lot of other guys in there.
Right.
At the end of it, though, Andre the Giant stood tall, but Andre the Giant never won a Royal Rumble.
Yeah, you'd think, somebody that big, he'd just throw people around and get them out of the ring, which is, all the other the Battle Royal matches, that's how he operated. But, you got a guy that top heavy, though. It ain't that hard to get him out, I don't guess, as long as you get their feet up.
You get that weight going.
Right.
It's kind of easy to go.
Right. But in that same vein, though, I don't believe the Big Show's ever won.
Big Show never won a Rumble.
Yeah.
No way.
So, it just stands to reason, the big guys, sometimes they don't last the longest in these events.
Unless you're Big John Studd.
Big John Studd.
Big guy that won. But, I get it. As the Rumble started to take on a life of its own, it's harder to get those kind of guys put over because it's a big four. It's one of your big four at the time pay-per-views. You got to put a guy over that you're on the verge of making. Some of these guys that we're talking about now, like Andre, for example, they were on the back end.
Right.
When the Rumble came to prominence, Macho Man was already a heavyweight champion. He had stories going on that he didn't need to win a Rumble, even though Hulk Hogan managed to get him 2 out of that. But nonetheless,
well, as they say, the Booker.
Yeah, well, I think they told Hulk Hogan in that first one, you're not going to be able to win this Rumble, Hulk. And Hulk said, well, that's not going to work for me, brother. So next thing you know, Hulk Hogan's winning the Royal Rumble. But, hey, sometimes that stuff happens. But, yeah, just some of those guys that, just names that you think of over the years that just didn't win the Royal Rumble. It's just, I had one more on the list. I did not really a purpose in bringing it up, but he was really, really close to the year Ric Flair won, and that's Sid. Sid, another big, powerful guy that was on the verge of being a made man in WWE, and somehow or another he gave up the Rumble to let Flair win, start a program going into WrestleMania 8 with Hulk Hogan, and Sid didn't stick around much longer than that. When Sid came back later on, he beat Shawn Michaels for the heavyweight title at the Royal Rumble, but it didn't work out for him to actually win a Royal Rumble and go main event WrestleMania. So,
right. Well, those are definitely some good names to bring up. It's a lot of nostalgia as you talk about some of those names. Definitely Andre. I remember seeing Andre when I was a kid going, how can somebody be that big, and then talk about, Sid, Psycho Sid is what I always remember. And then unfortunately, one of the most things that I remember about Sid was the leg break in the middle of the ring.
That was brutal.
Unfortunately.
We're around the anniversary of that. Right
Yeah.
Recently, too, as I'm over here rubbing my knee right now.
And then Kane, obviously, the career that guy had, not only was the storyline just supreme between him and The Undertaker, but the offshoots that he got to do throughout his career, whether it be as a singles career, whether it be with Daniel Bryan, just that whole yes-no tag team. Just phenomenal work. But definitely, so those were our thoughts on the greatest WWE wrestler to never win the Royal Rumble. Hope you enjoyed this conversation today.
And before we go keep in mind on those comments there on our social media, anybody who has any other ideas for greatest superstar to never win the Royal Rumble, please hit us up with comments. We want to hear what you guys are out there thinking too.
Absolutely. Definitely interested in those comments. But definitely we thank you for listening today. Hope you enjoyed the time. And with always, we bid you adieu.
And we're going to call it a wrap today, and we'll see you guys watching the Rumble next weekend.
All right, guys.
Peace.
Today's podcast was produced by SBP. You can find our podcast on all major podcast platforms. Also connect with us on our social media accounts. Search for The Bookers Alliance on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.